Hello, all you surgically altered former changelings out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor.
This episode is just for you, Odo.
My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Yo!
This is Undeclared Bajor, a Star Trek Deep Space Nine rewatch, which I think might just be the best Deep Space Nine podcast going on right now, based on a sampling of other podcasts I've been doing recently. So, that's right.
Fletcher sizing up the competition.
Bring it. Death to the opposition. If we're not the best, we're definitely the nitpickiest.
Oh, good.
Which is,
that is the title that I always try to claim.
Yes. I make no apologies for it. It brings me joy, so.
That's the important thing, yeah.
Right? I could do it all day. I do it for my job, and I do it for my hobby. Anyway, today we're going to recap and discuss Season 5, Episode 1 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Apocalypse Rising.
It's about that X-Men character.
Or the planet in the DC universe.
Oh, yeah, that planet's spelled differently, I think. With like a...
Sure. Alternate title, What the Hell is Galron here?
I don't get it.
It's like, what the hell is going on here? Except...
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to do it like Biff in Back to the Future 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is a specific target, all right.
Which is a GIF I badly want at work. Is Biff going, what the hell is going on here? But alas, no. To help facilitate with what may be your first viewing of our beloved Deep Space Nine, we will attempt to only discuss spoilers up through this episode, but be warned, we have no qualms about dropping spoilers for TV shows, movies, or books that do not relate to Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Like that line from Back to the Future 2. Clearly a giant spoiler for...
Right. That line from the first 1 minute of Back to the Future 2.
Oh my god, Biff is in Back to the Future 2?
Yep. Marty's girlfriend is played by a different actress, and so is his dad.
Yeah, well, these things happen.
Yep. Apocalypse Rising originally aired September 30th, 1996. It was written by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolfe, and directed by old pro James L. Conway.
Yep, all our old friends coming back.
So diving into our recap, Worf, Kira, and O'Brien wait impatiently in ops for Sisko and Dax to return from a mission to Starfleet Command. It seems hostilities between the Klingons and Federation have escalated into all-out war, and Sisko and Dax have undertaken the long, dangerous journey through the war zone in nothing but a dinky runabout. Worf wants to take the Defiant out to find them, but Kira vetoes that as acting commander of Deep Space Nine.
Yep.
But Worf says, you may command Deep Space Nine, but I command the Defiant. Aha! A loophole. But Kira's just like, dude, come on. And then the whole thing becomes moot a second later when the Rio Grande shows up, in bad shape, but crew alive.
Using the same shot that we saw in that earlier episode of the Volga being damaged.
I think it might have been mirrored, but yes, that was clearly a reused special effects shot.
I do like how Worf's like, we should take the Defiant, and O'Brien's like, yeah, I think that too, and Kira's like, yeah, good to know what you guys think. I don't care, I'm the boss.
Yeah. Sisko comes aboard. He quickly brings everybody up to speed on his meeting with Starfleet Command. Starfleet Command wants them to do an infiltration mission deep into Klingon space to expose Galron as a founder, which I remind you is an assumption based entirely on Odo briefly seeing a vision of Galron's face while on trial in the Great Link.
Yeah, and I guess the mission wasn't so important that they thought they should send any ships to escort the runabout with the people who are going on the mission through a war zone.
Well, you gotta be careful. There's spies everywhere. Especially with this sneaky Dominion around.
Freaking Dominion.
Yep. Kira's like, wow, who's going to lead this mission? And then Sisko is like, dude, who do you think?
Man, I sure would hate to be the guy leading that mission.
Is this show called Star Trek Starfleet Command Infiltration Squad? No.
There's a great moment in an episode of Lower Decks where it's like Starfleet sent like a crack special ops team under the command of Morgan Bateson, and you see like, yeah, Morgan Bateson from the classic Next Gen episode Cause and Effect, who like, you know, travel or like was it trapped in a time loop for decades or whatever. So you get to see a cool like animated Kelsey Grammer doing a special ops mission. And
What's his name?
When they're
Morgan Bateson?
Morgan Bateson.
Morgan Bateson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so for some reason, I guess because I watched that episode not long ago, when they're like, yeah, they're going to send a special covert team. I'm like, oh man, I hope it's Morgan Bateson.
I didn't think Morgan was his first name.
Well, hold on. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Morgan Bateson.
Nope.
No, yeah, sure is. And the Memory Alpha article is that animated picture.
Nice.
Oh, man.
So later, Sisko strolls into Quark's, where the FCA writ still hangs on the wall for some reason.
Well, yeah. Quark can't take that down. That'd be illegal.
What are they going to do to him?
Okay, that's a fair point. Yeah.
I mean, maybe he just leaves it there as a courtesy to Ferengi who don't want to get in trouble. But
oh, yeah, you know, letting people know. That's good.
But Quark complains about Odo sitting alone at his table in a gloomy mood. But Sisko finds him in what seems to be a rather good mood, all things considered, discovering the many sensory pleasures that come with a cold, refreshing pint of bubbly beer.
Yeah, whatever that was. He's drinking something carbonated and presumably alcoholic, since Sisko declines to have any because he's on duty.
Yeah, I'm sure the prop was like sparkling apple juice or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it had a little foam on the top, so... Sisko invites Odo to come along on the infiltration mission, but Odo is like, what's the point? Without my shapeshifting abilities, all I have is my years of experience with covert infiltration, my vast network of spies and informants, and my uniquely intimate knowledge of the very enemy we're trying to expose. No, I'm afraid I'll just be no use.
You should take Deputy... whatever that guy's name was.
Some guy we've never heard of before.
Yep.
But Sisko basically responds, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were picking and choosing what orders to follow now. So the whole crew gather in the wardroom to brainstorm a plan. Unfortunately, Gowron likes to hang out at Taigakor, which is in a heavily guarded asteroid field. And he's always got his personal bodyguard with him, the Brotherhood of the Sword, not to be confused with the Order of the Batleth.
No.
They rule out exposing Gowron with a blood test based entirely on the, 5-second speculation that the Klingons are so blood test crazy that he just must be employing the old Joe Sisko hobo blood trick.
Sure, as you do.
So they just, let's not even bother with that.
I mean, it's a good thing they didn't base their entire plan around that, because Gowron would have tested perfectly, so...
Then they briefly toy with the idea of killing Gowron, as a dead changeling will revert to its goo form based on what we saw that one time. But Dax already has the whole thing figured out, so Starfleet Science rigged up some Polaron emitters.
Yep.
You know, Polarons.
Uh-huh. The thing that everybody knows.
Yeah. You haven't heard of Polarons? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Polarons would make a changeling turn back into goo.
According to Wikipedia, let's see. A polaron is a quasi-particle used in condensed matter physics.
Okay. What's a quasi-particle? Do we want to go deep down this rabbit hole?
I think we might. Hold on. Oh, geez, Cat. In condensed matter physics, a quasi-particle is a concept used to describe a collective behavior of a group of particles that can be treated as if they were a single particle.
Oh,
Formally,
okay.
Quasi-particles and collective excitations are closely related phenomena.
Okay. Yeah, Polarons. The Polarons will make the changeling revert shape. But you have to put 4 of the emitters all around and then activate them with a remote control. And you can only get one try, or else everybody gets radiation poisoning or something.
Yep.
They spend a lot of time establishing the rules of these polaron emitters, and it's never paid off.
Well, no, I mean, we never get to use them because, as we all know, when you outline a plan in detail before even beginning on the plan is not going to go according to plan.
Well, I mean, but usually when you set up these rules, you do it so that you can kind of like, throw a wrench in the things later. It's like, oh, we can only use them one time. And then it's like, oh no, we already used them one time. We'll risk getting radiation poisoning if we do it again or something like that.
Also, spoiler, they are never used again. In apparently polaron as a particle or polaron radiation comes up in Voyager several times, but in Deep Space Nine we do not use them again to try to find any changelings, nor do we use them in Picard, so I guess maybe they don't work after all.
Yeah, maybe when they were, as we learn in Star Trek Picard, holding a bunch of changelings prisoner in test tubes and doing horrible experiments on them, they learned that the polarons do nothing. So they just abandoned that. The main problem is how to get to Taiga Core. Sisko comes up with a brilliant plan. Trick Gul Dukat into coming to the station to see his daughter. Hope he brings his stolen Klingon bird of prey with him. Then ask him nicely if he'll fly them on their super dangerous mission to the heart of enemy territory.
I mean, really, I feel like they should have put it more like, hey, Kira, Gul Dukat owes you a favor. It's time to call that in. Since he wouldn't have his stolen bird of prey or his daughter in safety without you.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Gul Dukat is totally down.
Well, it gives him the chance to flirt with Kira creepily some more.
And Kira gets the opportunity to do some trolling with her pregnancy.
That's some top shelf trolling, let's be fair.
She's into that. She enjoys a good troll. Especially on Dukat.
Yep.
But Dukat wonders how the team is going to beam onto Taiga Core without immediately getting caught. And Kira leads him and us in a cool, handheld following shot into the infirmary to show off the final piece of the plan. O'Brien, Sisko, and Odo have been surgically changed to look like Klingons.
Which should not be a surprise, since this.
Right.
I feel like we've been doing this since the original series at this point.
This is such standard Star Trek stuff. But whatever. Worf has also been given a flawless disguise. A fake mustache. I guess they're operating under the assumption that the changeling won't recognize them, which, as we soon see, is a very wrong assumption.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why the changeling necessarily would recognize them in their disguise. Also,
well, apparently the whole Dominion just knows what Captain Sisko looks like.
That's true. That's a good point. I think they don't they also remove Worf's beard or something?
Oh, does Worf normally have a beard?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, he does. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. So yeah, they shave his beard, I guess, instead of giving a fake mustache. But, I mean, man, who is that guy? And they change his hairstyle slightly. Dukat is delighted with what he sees and says he'll do it if he can take a picture. They all climb aboard the bird of prey and get going. Dukat's right-hand dude Damar expresses skepticism about the mission and wonders why don't they just fly to Taiga Core and blow everything up, as if the only reason they haven't done that yet is because he hadn't thought of it.
Yeah, I mean, if Damar didn't think of it, then it's not going to happen.
It's like, no, why didn't we just do that a long time ago? Luckily, there's going to be an induction ceremony on Taiga Core for new members of the Order of the Batleth. Not to be confused with Brotherhood of the Sword.
Which, based on what happens later, I feel like Sisko really wants in to the Order of the Batleth.
Yes. Sisko, Sisko, as always, is just way too into his undercover role.
So, interesting note here. The episode was originally conceived as a two-parter, and the first part was going to be all on Dukat's bird of prey and about their adventures on Dukat's ship as they go to Taiga Core. And then the end of that episode would have made a bigger deal about getting them into their Klingon disguise or whatever. And then the second part would have been on Taiga Core, and I guess eventually they're like, nah, we'll just make it a one episode.
Yeah, just screw it. Just do one episode. I'm also pretty confident that during that party, Captain Sisko, in order to keep up appearances, had sex with like 5 Klingon women.
Probably. I mean, you do what you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, he had to do it. You always have to do that when you're undercover.
Well, if you're Sisko.
Yeah. So, yeah. Luckily, Dukat can hack into their computers or whatever and put their fake Klingon names on the list for the new inductees of the Order of the Batleth.
It's just like going to the club. You know.
Uh-huh.
Once you're on the list, you're good.
Yes, just sneak your name on the list.
Yeah.
Then we get a scene where Dr. Bashir goes to Kira to deliver a report of all the private health information of the crew.
Yep, important. And
she gets mad at him for making her pregnant. In what I'm sure is intended to be a delightful wink-wink moment.
Yep, it's in here. It's in a humorous in-joke. So not a non-humorous in-joke, a humorous one.
I hate those non-humorous jokes.
Yeah. Kira blames Julian for her pregnancy because in real life, Nana Visitor was pregnant with Alexander Siddig's child at the time. Of the scene, Ira Stephen Bear says, "We did that on purpose. That was strictly for the audience. We thought it would be nice to acknowledge the relationship." So I was like, it wasn't an accident. Don't think that. I wrote that intentionally.
Wow. Good going, Ira Stephen Bear. Then on their way to Tyga Corps, Worf gives the others some Klingon acting lessons, and this is where we see Sisko getting possibly a little too into his role. Odo starts whining that he's not cut out for this mission, but Sisko gives him a healthy dose of, "Dude, I know it sucks being a solid now, but just please get over it.
Suck it up.
Yep. And then
do your freaking job."
Yeah. Once again, he's like, "Yes, you just do it."
So, another fun bit, speaking of whining.
Uh-huh.
So, Michael Dorn, very excited that his co-stars would have to go through the same Klingon makeup process that he's been doing for years. He's quoted, "When Avery, Renee, and Colum had to be in makeup, I was so happy." On the other hand, Colum Meaney, not a fan. Says he was extremely uncomfortable in the Klingon makeup and complained a lot about it to Michael Dorn. Dorn found Meaney's whining to be very funny, and his favorite moment of the complaining was when Meaney pointed out in shock what the makeup staffers had done to his teeth. He was also shocked at what they'd done to his nails, and by the fact that he couldn't blink due to glue having been added to his eyelids. In fact, he complained so much that Dorn asked producers never to put him in makeup again.
See, that's just playing his game. Don't do
Meaney
that.
Himself comments, "All I remember from that show was the makeup. The makeup drove me insane. I think I bitched so much about it that they won't ever put me in alien makeup again. It gave me new respect for Michael. I don't know how he or any of the other people who play Klingons on our show do it. I had to do it for 6 days and I almost went insane. It's very, very difficult to go in hours early, sit in a chair for hours, and then go in and try to act. And then when you're finally done, you have to go and get it all removed. Not fun." Conversely, Rene Auberjonois said he found the Klingon makeup much easier than his typical Odo makeup since it covered less of his face.
Huh. Yeah, I did notice, I was like, why does his face look weird? And then I was like, oh wait, he doesn't have any Odo stuff on his cheeks or whatever.
Yeah, he has a normal-ish nose and a jawline that I feel like is more normal than usual, so...
I think he had a Klingon nose, but...
Well, yeah, he had a Klingon nose, but it's more... that's still more human shape than his normal nose.
Sure, yeah. I think O'Brien also had a line that was it's hard to joke with these teeth or whatever. So anyway, they run across a Klingon patrol. Unfortunately, the zoom filter that Dukat's crew uses to look like Klingons is stuck on kitty cat mode or something.
Yep. He's like, I can't just go on there and tell them I'm not a cat.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to find something else.
I'm not a cat. So Dukat just blows the Klingons up, and then Sisko puts on a show of being outraged, but he doesn't care.
It's just I'm not sure what you expected. This is what Dukat does, is kill Klingons. Yeah. That's his whole jam right now.
He and his people are at war with the Klingons, so...
Also, the Federation is at war with the Klingons,
right.
So I don't really feel like you should be complaining about this.
It's it sucks, but that's war.
What's it good for?
Finally, they arrive at their destination, and Dukat is like, okay, good luck on your dangerous mission. I'm out of here. And they're like, wait, aren't you going to hang around and wait for us? And Dukat points out, well, if the mission succeeds, you won't need me to pick you up. And if the mission fails, also you won't need me to pick you up. So they're like, oh yeah. So they beam down and they walk into the Hall of Warriors, which looks a lot like the Albino's house, except with awesome Klingon warrior statues everywhere.
I hadn't considered that, but yeah, probably is, right?
Yeah, the Albino's house and the Klingon High Council chamber or whatever. Meanwhile, Sirach Lofton does appear in this episode.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when he showed up. I'm like, hey, he's here.
Jake Sisko hangs out over the promenade looking worried, and then he has a little chat with Dr. Bashir. So in the Hall of Warriors, Klingon warriors are partying and dipping their mugs into a big bowl of Hawaiian punch, or I guess blood wine. A Klingon brags about killing an old friend of Sisko's, and Sisko beats him up, playing it off as the dude blocking the blood wine bowl.
Well, it's weird because, like, what does he say? Does he say the guy was a Benzite or?
Yeah, no, he said, I think he meant to say Benzite, but he said like Benzarian or something like that.
Oh, he said a Benzonite. Okay,
yeah. Because he talked about pulling out his breathing tubes and stuff, right? So
yeah, and I was
that
like,
a
does he mean
Benzite
like
thing?
that? Yeah, I was like, does he mean the breathing thing that the Benzites have? Or are there tubes on that? Okay, we're gonna find out. I'm gonna look up a Benzite. Okay, maybe there's not a tube. It's just like a breathing thing that sits in front of their face. So maybe a Benzonite is a different thing.
Maybe. Who knows?
I was going to say, it wouldn't have really have made any sense for a Benzite to be a captain at this point, because we know that just like a couple of years earlier, the first Benzite in Starfleet at all was starting like from Wesley Crusher's class at the Academy or who got to the Academy before Wesley or whatever.
Okay, so either that guy became a captain. No, one of those people was a classmate of Captain Sisko. So
right, yeah. So and Sisko would have been at the Academy before Wesley, so it must have been Benzonite. Must be a different thing.
And then the writers never make mistakes. Yeah,
no, never.
Then the camera pushes in ominously on the punch bowl, but it turns out to just be a dissolve shot to show the passage of time.
Yep.
I was like, is there a changeling hiding in the punch bowl, or what's going on?
No, it was very effective at showing the passage of time.
Yeah.
Everyone's been drinking the blood wine.
That's good. I mean, it's good, visual storytelling.
Yeah.
It just, the music was, it was like, doon, doon, doon.
So, it says, although they're never seen clearly or very clearly on screen, the various statues in the Klingon Hall of Warriors were designed to give an overview of Klingon history, with the statues representing the heroes of different areas. For example, both Kales and Chang are included. John Eves, who designed this... Yeah.
General Chang?
General Chang.
Wow.
John Eves, who designed the statues, also created several new characters, and in his design, he tried to concentrate on the garments worn so as to give a sense of evolution leading into modern Klingon warrior uniforms.
I looked at those statues, and I thought, I bet a lot of work went into those statues.
Apparently they did, and we never... I mean, they could have done a cool panning shot to show them all or something, you know?
Let's also, just a reminder, General Chang conspired to assassinate the Klingon Chancellor, and apparently now lives in a position, or is immortalized in a statue in the Hall of Warriors.
Hold on, I'm going to click this now. Maybe it's a different Chang, and I was misattributing that. Let's see, where's that... Chang, here it is. No, yeah, that's Eye Patch General Chang from Star Trek 6. All right.
Okay. What's his face from The Sound of Music?
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, Amanda Plummer's dad.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh, there's a picture in the Wikipedia article of the statue of General Chang, although you can't see his eye patch from this side.
Is there a novel that explains why he has a statue?
If there is, it's not mentioned.
It's like, did he recover his honor or something? Oh yeah, I guess it does kind of look like Chang, although he has hair.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. All right, his younger days, you know.
Sure. Okay, so where were we? Oh, also we learned that they took anti-intoxicants, so they can drink all
Very
the wine
smart.
they want and not get drunk. Then Cisco puts his Academy Wrestling skills, captain of the Academy Wrestling team,
Yep.
we learn, to use in a brawl with some Klingons. And then Martok strolls into the room. And the team is like, oh crap, I forgot we met that guy for like 5 minutes that one time. Hopefully he doesn't recognize us.
Did O'Brien meet him? I mean, I guess he must have, since they made a big deal about you look familiar, but
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I'm sure he saw him in the background of like one of their screen talks or something. But yeah, it's like also hopefully the changeling infiltrator who has possibly studied detailed files on the whole crew of Deep Space Nine doesn't recognize you. But
I mean, honestly, I think that the Cisco, the disguise for Cisco was good. O'Brien, almost as good. Odo, I was like, well, I can kind of tell.
Also,
Worf is the big worry.
Wouldn't a changeling definitely recognize Odo?
You would think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the Worf disguise, I was like, that's not going to fool anybody. Sure enough, as O'Brien is trying to set up his Polaron emitter, Martok walks up and does the old, you look familiar routine. But Chief O'Brien did his homework on his character and puts on a masterful improv. Also, the guy pretending to be Martok has done his homework and is also able to smoothly bullshit his way through the conversation.
Yeah, knowing that they're both lying and not just one of them, you can see it in there where he's like, "Oh yeah, that's totally where we met."
Yeah, I was in that battle, wasn't I?
Lots of great deeds were done on that dark day. Like I feel like that's like the line that he's just got down pat for this situation. It's like, yeah, lots of honorable deeds were done on that dark day or whatever.
It's like, so you remember that guy Steve? It's like, oh yeah, Steve, what a guy. Am I right?
Songs will be sung of Steve.
So then Cisco, Worf, and O'Brien put on their best poker faces and sneakily plant their emitters. Odo is slightly less subtle and is just going like, do, planting an emitter.
I don't feel like any of them are all that subtle, because it's not like reaching way high up on the statues is a thing that people are doing around the room very often, so...
Yeah, it did kind of remind me of that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail when the prince is like just sneakily writing like a help me note while the guard just looks at him and smiles.
I was like, could you not like put these on the floor? Or, I mean, do you have to like reach up high super obviously in the middle of this room?
Obviously you don't know how Polarons work. I mean,
I don't. That's the problem.
You only get 12,000 cubic meters or something. You don't want half of that to be under the floor.
Yeah.
Anyway, Odo drops his Polaron emitter. Some Klingon guys pick it up and they're all suspicious. But luckily Worf swoops in and gives Odo some good material to yes and they're soon back in business. Yeah,
it's some good improv, except I mean Odo, I expect Odo to be better at infiltration than he is, because he's used to shapeshifting. You can't shapeshift, but you could still play a part.
This was clearly a misstep on the part of the writers, that Odo is like the most useless like infiltrator of all.
Well, no, it's just it had to start out like that so that he could get his confidence back later.
Okay.
When he uses his detective skills and he realizes he does have something to contribute after all.
Okay, so he's still in like, feeling useless without his powers. Okay.
Yeah.
I buy it. Although he still has trouble keeping people away from his statue long enough to plant his emitter.
It's true.
But then Gowron shows up and makes a speech, which is well received by the Order of the Batleth inductees, who are like, yeah! I like the one part when Martok walks in, and there's this one guy who just gives like the goofiest cheer. He's like, yeah, General!
Well, they're all drunk, so
okay. That guy was actually getting really into character. It wasn't bad acting.
Yeah, exactly. Or he actually was drunk. He's a right actor.
So yes, it's my method. So Gowron starts handing out medals. they've got all the emitters planted. Sisko pulls out the remote and he's like, all right, time to do this thing. But then Gowron calls his fake Klingon name, and Sisko gets so swept up with the excitement of getting a medal, he decides not to go through with the mission.
He wants that medal. He's like, after this mission's done, I'm taking that medal home. I'm putting it on my shelf. I won this medal. No one can claim otherwise.
So I can push this button and it'll be victory. But that medal.
Yeah. He really wants to be a member of the Order of the Batleth. How many other Federation captains are members of the Order of the Batleth? Probably not many.
Yeah, I'd guess probably none. But I mean, we later learn even if he pushed the button, well, maybe it's like he would have been looking at Gowron, and then they would have looked over and seen like Martok just melting into a pile of goo.
Yeah,
and they would have been like, "Okay, close enough."
Unless the Polarons actually don't work, and then
true.
What are you gonna do?
We'll never find out.
Nope.
So once he's gotten his medal, Sisko pulls out the remote again, but then Martok...
while still on the dais as he's walking down, he just clearly pulls out a small device.
He's just like, okay, got my medal now. But Martok whacks him with the blunt side of the Batleth and knocks him out, which should be the first clue that he's a changeling, as he doesn't know what side of the Batleth to use.
He doesn't know.
And then the team goes to Klingon jail, and then Martok comes in, and after they tell him their story, he's like, Gowron has been acting kind of changeling-y lately. You know what? I'll let you guys out, and you guys just go kill him.
Yep.
And then Worf is like, well, if you think he's a changeling, why don't you just challenge him to honorable combat? And then Martok says, there will be no honorable combat. And then Odo gets this look on his face like, wait, what?
I feel like everyone should be pinging off of this, but we had to give Odo like his moment in the sun in this episode.
But they decide they're tired enough of all this that they'll just go along with the assassination plan now. And so Martok shoots their guards.
I mean, they're like, it's our only option anymore, so I guess let's do it.
Martok shoots their guards and then leads them back into the Hall of Heroes, doing a cool double dagger stab on a couple of guards along the way.
I mean, I understand the first two guards. You had to take them out because they knew the prisoners weren't supposed to be leaving. But these two hallway guards, you could just walk past them. It's okay.
I think they were already mostly past the guards. And then Martok is like, psh.
I mean, it was a cool moment.
Yeah.
But I feel like this should also be a call out to you. It's like, wow, he's just slaughtering Klingon warriors for no reason. Maybe this is not a cool guy.
He was like, I will never get another opportunity to do this move. Stab. But he holds Odo back on the excuse that he doesn't trust him as a changeling.
Yeah, it turns out that this is a very bad idea.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why, like, does he still have a soft spot for Odo as a former changeling? Does he even know that Odo's no longer an actual changeling?
That was kind of
that's a question.
Well, that was kind of my read, is that he knows stuff is going to, like, he assumes they're going to assassinate Gowron, and then everybody's going to die, and he's just trying to keep Odo out of that action because, he's still one of us, even if he's like a solid now. So in the Hall of Warriors, Worf steps up to Gowron, who says, "What is this?" And then Worf gives the most badass response of, "It is your death," which I hope to be able to say someday. I want to
walk into a room. What is this?
It is your death. So Gowron challenges Worf to honorable combat. And Worf starts sword fighting him, apparently forgetting that swords probably don't work on changelings.
I mean, if you can give him a real good stab and he doesn't go down, then that's probably a good indicator also.
True.
Although, like, Worf is at a disadvantage, I feel like, for most of the fight, because his sword is way smaller than Gowron's sword.
Mm-hmm.
But he makes it work for him.
Yeah. But Odo runs out and is like, "No, wait, Martok is the changeling." And then Martok immediately drops the act and goes full changeling mode so that everybody can, like, see that it's true.
That wasn't the way to do it.
Yeah.
No one has any, other than the other three guys on Odo's team, no one has any reason to believe that when this enemy of theirs claims that their lead general is a changeling. So going for the immediate, like, changeling tentacle whip chokeout was in a room full of armed Klingons was not the way to go.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that, or speculate, that this guy might have not been in the top quartile of his changeling infiltration class.
Yeah.
So like,
he's
give that guy the
wasn't
Klingon
a very good
assignment.
Klingon.
Yeah. So the Klingon warriors just kind of glance at each other for a second, then they all simultaneously raise their disruptors and shoot the changeling like 6,000 times, and he explodes.
Yeah, I feel like the changelings didn't need to be shot this much the last time we saw this happen, but maybe Klingon disruptors just aren't as good.
That one time, alternate universe Odo got shot. I think they only had to shoot him one time.
Oh, and that's true. And
he exploded into a bunch of oatmeal.
Was that a Klingon disruptor? It might have been.
I forget what they shot him with, actually.
Because it was, it was alternate universe. It must have been one of the weapons that like the Klingons and the Cardassians were using. So
yeah, I mean, it could be some alternate universe technology. Who knows? But
that's true. Some alternate universe changeling busting technology. I like it.
But maybe their disruptors were all in like party mode, where they're kind of
in case you shoot somebody else while you're drunk.
Yeah, they're kind of like expecting to kind of drunkenly shoot each other and just have it burn a little bit or something.
This party is so weird. Like, to take a step back, when they get back to the hall, Gowron is standing up on the big circular dance platform, and he's like, "Do we want another toast? Let's do another toast.
Right.
Let's toast to Jean Bajor, whatever that guy's name was, who destroyed this race of people."
I
was like, man, Klingon parties, dude.
Just a Klingon party. So after that's all over, Gowron is like, well, I guess their secret plan must have been to have you try to kill me so that Martok could take over. Or just Odo's brief glimpse of my face with no context when he was in the Great Link didn't mean what he thought. But oh well, we went to war and we took Arcanus, so I guess there's nothing to do but just keep it. And then Sisko is like, no, nice try. And then Gowron is like, okay, we'll make peace. But Worf is still exiled.
Yeah, he's still going to be a dick to Worf.
Right.
For no real reason. He's like, well, you should have killed me when you had the chance.
I mean, he's still mad about the whole Way of the Warrior situation. Later, back on the station, Bashir puts them all back to normal. Bashir offers to use this opportunity to give Odo a non-changeling face. I imagine Rene Auberjonois tries to ad-lib, yes, one normal human face, please. But it doesn't take him. He has to go back to looking like Odo.
I was sitting here like, hey, Moto, why not just try switching it up? See what you might like. Like, you work for the Bajorans, why not go Bajoran for a little bit and just check it out, I mean, maybe that's cultural appropriation. I don't know, but...
I think Odo is way more Bajoran than human.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I don't think anybody would be mad if he switched to looking like a Bajoran.
So, it's noted in here that it was Ronald D. Moore's suggestion to make Martok rather than Gowron the Changeling. And the reasoning was so as not to upset Next Generation fans.
Sure.
It was also felt that it would be a good twist. An unexpected twist in the episode.
So is the logic that if they make Gowron the Changeling, then that would mean Gowron is dead or something?
I guess so, because in a different note in here, it's like, as it turned out, DS9 producers were highly pleased with J.G. Hertzler's performance in the episode. This is the show where we fell in love with J.G. Hertzler as an actor, remarked Renee Echevarria. It was like, hey, this guy is terrific, and here we are killing him. But actually, we were killing a changeling.
Right. But... I'm sure Martok is dead, and we'll never see him again.
Well, I mean, why would they leave him alive? There's no reason for that.
But maybe we'll see J.G. Hertzler again as like Jaeyoon, the Vorta or something.
The Vorta. Good old Jaeyoon, yep.
I actually want to see J.G. Hertzler as a Vorta now. I am the Vorta.
Now I gotta look up his listing in here and see if he's played some other roles in the universe.
I feel like wasn't he was on Voyager or something once,
he's been in lots of stuff. Hold on, here we go. He was a Vulcan guy in The Emissary. He
in
plays
Emissary or The Emissary?
I'm sorry, Emissary, the first episode of Deep Space Nine.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna play a changeling later. Spoiler, I guess.
Well, he already did play a changeling.
Oh, well, that's true. He's gonna play a different changeling.
Okay.
He is in an episode of Voyager as a Hirosian. He's in Enterprise as 2 different Klingons. And he is in Lower Decks as voice of Drukmani Captain, but also voice of Martok. So
okay, well that makes sense.
Although in Lower Decks, he's not actually voicing Martok. He's voicing the Ferengi are marketing this D&D type game called like Batleths and Bintachs.
Sure.
Where like Martok is the computerized like game master, and the characters are playing the game. It's actually really funny.
Nice.
And one of the characters is like, I can't believe they got Martok to record all this. Like, no, come on. This is a Ferengi deepfake.
All right.
Some of the most random stuff. This is the first episode in which Ira Steven Bear's executive producer credit is displayed alongside Rick Berman's at the end of the episode.
Ooh.
So moving up in the world, getting right there next to Rick Berman.
You're up to Rick level now.
The 3rd consecutive season premiere where Jadzia Dax sports a noticeably different hairstyle.
Yeah, in fact, they all had what I felt like was 5% more volume than normal.
They got a new stylist on the show.
I feel like Bashir just hasn't had a haircut since last season.
I did notice he was looking a little big, yeah.
Then I think Kira was looking maybe a little fluffier. And I felt like Jake was a little fluffier. And I think O'Brien had like an unusually short do, I felt like, at the end of last season. I think it's kind of grown back now. I think he had his Con Air hairdo or something.
See, I can't even think of them when they looked human or whatever in the episode. They're just Klingons, so...
Yeah.
They had a lot more hair as Klingons.
That's true.
This episode is nominated for an Outstanding Cinematography Emmy Award and an Outstanding Makeup Award. It says nominated, so I guess it didn't win either of those.
Got to give him props on that makeup at the very least. I'm disappointed we didn't get to see the Cardassian crew in Klingon makeup. They meanly teased us with that.
Star Trek does Klingons so often that I feel like it's not that impressive to just put one of your regular actors through the same thing.
Maybe.
Although, speaking of, this is apparently the second time Renee Auberjonois has worn Klingon makeup, but played someone who wasn't actually a Klingon. Because of Colonel West in Star Trek 6.
Yeah. Also, there were a lot of Klingon extras, so...
That's true, yeah. That I'm sure that was a lot of work. They got to bring in a bunch of makeup extra people, maybe. I don't know. The last episode to be directed by James L. Conway of Deep Space Nine.
Oh.
Conway reminisced, I was honored to be able to do it. I'd just been hired as executive vice president of Spelling Productions, and Ira and Rick begged me to hold off going over there long enough to do the episode.
Nice. Well, that was cool that he did it. I mean, that sounds like a good job.
Yeah, I don't know if Spelling Productions is still a thing, but isn't it like Tori Spelling? Hold on. Spelling Productions, let's find out. Spelling Television Incorporated? No, I have no idea. Maybe. Oh, this was founded in 1965 by Aaron Spelling, or as Aaron Spelling Production. And then it became, until 1992, Spelling Entertainment, Inc. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Not that big. Not that important.
I mean, I'm executive vice president of Fletcher Productions.
Are you, though?
If I want to be, no.
Yeah.
Even I couldn't get that good a job.
Okay. Stuff about the basis for the story. So the writer's primary goal in season 5, this says, and in this episode in particular, was to get the show back on the track that they'd been on in season 3, i.e. moving towards conflict with the Dominion, since the Paramount-mandated Klingon War arc, featuring the introduction of Worf, had taken up most of season 4. Now the writers were moving into the next season, and they wanted to end the Klingon conflict and get back to the Dominion. And Ira Stephen Bear says, the seminal thing about our 5th season opener was that we wanted to get back on the track we'd anticipated being on a year earlier. We wanted to move back towards making the shapeshifters and the Dominion our enemies, not the Klingons. I didn't want to have Klingons as our enemies.
I think the Klingon arc lasted just the right amount of time.
No, yeah. And I guess maybe it worked. Maybe Paramount was right, and bringing in the Klingons and bringing in Worf got the ratings up, and so now the writers are like, okay, now we can do what we want. We listen to you. We can go back to what we want to do.
Yeah.
However, it was important the writers not give the impression that season 4 had been completely pointless, and they didn't wish to simply leap back into the Dominion arc without somehow connecting it to the Klingon arc. So Ira Stephen Bear says, we wanted to let people know that we didn't switch horses in midstream. So Apocalypse Rising was an important episode. By having that shapeshifter in there, we were saying season 4 wasn't a mistake. It wasn't the Klingons turning against us. There was a shapeshifter behind it all along. Gotcha. And that's why we had to do that episode.
So they decided not to have just Gowron show up and be like, you know what, I'm sorry about the war. Let's band together and fight the Dominion now.
My bad, y'all.
Just like in the opening teaser of the episode. And then they're like, okay.
The last bit about that is Ronald D. Moore is like, so now we had Worf on board, and we'd made a commitment that the Klingons were part of Deep Space Nine. We had to find out what their role was and to try to use them effectively. Apocalypse Rising was our first major attempt to do that.
All right.
So it's like, we spent a season dealing with the Klingons. We can't just throw them out now. We're going to have to do something with them. What will that be? Find out as we move through season 5, maybe.
Yeah,
or maybe not. I don't know.
All right. Well, I think in a switcheroo this season, let's try starting with the episode review.
Ooh.
Before the title review.
Well, what did you think?
Well, it was a really fun episode.
Yep.
I gotta say. It's almost right up to captain level. I still have to decide right in this moment what I want to give it. You know what? Man. I mean, I just love the, there's a lot of stuff I love in it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's tough. It's like, it's either a very, very high commander or just barely captain. You know what? I'll go ahead and give it the captain.
Ooh.
I mean, it was just, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed seeing everybody in their Klingon makeup. There wasn't any, like, a lot of times in episodes like this, you'll have just some kind of dumb stuff. I mean, there was the dumb, like, Kira and Bashir scene, but
yeah.
There wasn't really anything in the episode I didn't like, and thinking about it, it was kind of like a good pickup of Odo's character, I guess. It didn't go too deep, but it kind of carried him through sort of like the next beat of the becoming a human being, a Homo sapiens story. So yeah, I'll stick with the captain. Why not? Just to get the season kicked off nicely. What do you think?
Yeah. So I really like the episode. I think that it's got I like the way that we're picking right up from, you could call it a cliffhanger from last season. I don't think it's really a cliffhanger. The revelation at the end of the previous season. We're not doing what we did with Bashir after Hard Time. With O'Brien after Hard Time. We're not doing that with Odo's major life change. We're picking up, and it has an effect on his character moving forward. And like you say, we're not, like, it didn't get swept under the rug, which I appreciate. It also wasn't just all fixed in this episode, but we took, the next step on having him get back on the horse, I guess, if we're going to continue with a horse metaphor. I agree with what they said, that J.G. Hertzler's fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I thought that and Gowron. Like, when Cisco gets up there and he gets his, like, wide-eyed Gowron thing, and he's like, "At your house." I'm always like, oh man, is he going to recognize him? No, he's just creepy Gowron. Okay.
Yeah, he looks at him like uncharacteristically un-Gowron for a second. Then he goes full Gowron.
Yep.
It was cool.
And you get the cool fight between him and Worf, and it's like the thing going on between them is getting more personal. Really, Gowron, like, Worf puts you where you are, dude. I don't think that you should be this much of a dick to him, but whatever. Getting the crew in the makeup, that was fun. I think that the twist, like, with the way they set up the end of last season, you're like, oh my gosh, Gowron's a changeling. Pulling that twist at the end and letting Odo detective it out, I think that was really well done. I liked the way they did that a lot.
True. Yeah, I didn't even think about that during the episode, but yeah, totally, like, basically giving Odo that, like, get his confidence back moment right there was pretty cool.
Yeah. And so, yeah, all in all, I think really good episode. I think it's a great start to the season, and I'm also going to give it a captain.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but when I was watching it, I was like, I guess I was focused more on the whiny aspects of Odo. And it's like when he finally, like, detectives out what's going on with Martok, I was like, all right, finally Odo's, like, being useful or whatever. But
hey, he's learned how awesome eating and drinking can be.
That's always like, when it's like, when Spider-Man or Iron Man or Superman loses their powers, and they got to learn those other qualities they have that make them heroic or whatever. So it was kind of like a mini that kind of arc for him.
I want to see them, like, make Odo, like, gain weight this year or something, because he's never had to, like, moderate his eating and drinking.
Fat Odo, which didn't Sisko even warn him about that?
Yeah, he's like, I mean, you can always eat or drink too much, and Odo's like, well, you got to do something.
Or just become like an alcoholic or something. Maybe that would be like too dark.
Even for this show, making your chief of security an alcoholic, like, would be a little bit dark.
That doesn't quite fit tonally. Okay.
That absolutely does happen, spoiler, on Babylon 5, the other show that runs concurrently with this.
But, or I guess I should say synthaholic. But
I don't know. I think you can get some real alcohol in Quarks. I don't think you're limited to synthahol.
I'm still not clear what exactly the difference is between synthahol and alcohol, but
yeah, they talk about that in an episode of Lower Decks, and I think I feel like I got more from that episode of Lower Decks than I've gotten from anything else. But it was just like, you don't get the same effects. Hold on, I'm going to look up synthahol now and see.
Does it still get you drunk, but it's like less painful without the hangover or something?
I feel like you don't get drunk, but hold on, I'm going to see let's see what Wikipedia or Memory Alpha says.
Sure.
A chemical variant of alcohol, same taste and smell to most individuals, but none of the deleterious effects associated with alcohol for most humanoids, such as debilitating intoxication, addiction, and alcohol poisoning.
Okay, so, but it does have an effect. It just, you can't, like, drink synthahol to death.
So yeah, it says most humanoids had an enzyme that broke down the alcohol-like compounds in synthahol. According to data, synthahol's intoxicating effects can be easily dismissed. So you can get a little buzz, maybe.
Okay, but, and then you can just kind of, like, quick. If you need to get back to work, you can kind of shake it off. And
yeah.
All right. Why not? Anyway, title review for Apocalypse Rising.
It's just so dramatic.
It's like it's almost like a Venture Brothers title or something.
Yeah.
It really doesn't have anything to do with the episode.
No, I mean, you could think of it as, like, the changeling threat rising, and because you discover that they're, like, controlling a major power, basically. But even that, it feels kind of the opposite, where we've eliminated the changeling threat there. That their threat seems less than than one episode ago, when we're like, oh god, the changelings are in control of the Klingons. So it doesn't feel like Apocalypse Rising to me.
Yeah. And, like, when you hear that title, for some reason this, like, scene jumps into my head where it's like it's It's like we are now having to contend with a new, more dangerous Klingon faction, Apocalypse faction, or whatever.
I just keep thinking of Apocalypse Now. So
True.
I don't think it's a very dramatic episode title that could have been a great fit elsewhere, but not really here.
I think just someone came up with that title and they just wanted to use it so bad.
Yeah. Like, I can think of a couple episodes coming up, maybe even this season, I don't remember exactly when, that this would be a good title for. But I don't think this is one.
Yeah. Oh well. So, not super, definitely not super relevant. Gotta admit it's memorable, though. Like,
I don't. It is memorable in that I remember that is an episode title. It's not memorable in that I remember that it goes to this episode.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess you decided to retire the next time on segment. So
yeah,
we got to come up with some new segments to put in here. So I'll be thinking about that.
And you got to come up with a sign off. Come on, you're on the spot. Do it now.
Well, maybe I already came up with one and wrote it down.
Oh, good.
So if you want to call it there.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for joining us in our discussion today. We hope you'll join us next time when we talk about episode 2, whatever the title of that is.
I can look if you want. Let's see.
I literally just put ... in my notes. The ship.
Oh, is that the ship? Okay.
You can find all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts, as long as you tell me first so I can put it there. But whenever we see you again, we hope you're well, but just remember, don't stand between me and the blood wine. That's my sign off.
I kind of thought that was going to be it. I was like, would he do that since we just did a blood wine one last time? But yeah, it was a very big quote from the episode. I was like, it's either got to be that or it's going to be like, I am your death, or whatever the worst quote was. So
it is your death. It is your death, listeners.
Okay, I'm going to stop.
Come back next time for your death.
No one's going to come back for that.